Hello! Today there is a long and detailed mix of extensive cleaning motivation as we work our way through the entire house, but first and foremost we are talking about 10 habits, behaviors that I have learned over time and that I no longer do in the same way as I used to because, for example, I never thought of them or simply did not value them. Maybe there's something for you in there. And 1 or 2 points will give you some ideas on how to make the topic of household chores and cleaning easier and more enjoyable. I hope you have a lot of fun watching. Let's get straight to the first point, which is to avoid unnecessary chaos. And when it comes to the staircase, it is a hotspot for chaos to happen incredibly quickly. And by now, I have really gotten into the habit of never going up or down the staircase with empty hands when there is something on the staircase. And since then, lo and behold, the staircase is indeed mostly clear. This helps a lot. And now that the staircase is so nicely clear, we can finally clean it again, because as you can see, it has gotten quite dusty again. And since it is a wooden staircase, it also deserves to be well maintained. So let's get to work on that. That means we will first vacuum the stairs, then wipe them down, and afterwards we will also tackle the walls. We have such great latex paint on the wall. So I will definitely clean it thoroughly as well. I actually do that relatively rarely, actually. As already announced, I will also definitely clean the wood thoroughly with such a wood cleaner and simultaneously maintain it. I really use most of the cleaning products from Frog and I am very satisfied with them. And yes, if you don't know me at all, I am Liz. I have 4 children. We live in a duplex house, no, in half of a duplex house. Yes, so just half. So basically in a house in half of a duplex house. Dumbest German word. Otherwise, at the moment I am working professionally. I always find it exciting to learn from others about what they do for a living. Not that a person defines themselves by it or anything, but I always find it really quite interesting indeed to know what a person spends most of their day doing. And that's why I can briefly share this here. I originally come from IT, but right now I'm not doing anything. Since September, I've really only been focusing on YouTube, and now I'm also doing a bit more on Instagram. And while I really enjoy it, I mean, I do have my 4 children and I'm really extremely very busy with them all day. Definitely. Well, I don't have much boredom right now, but I have recently started the application phase again and I'm currently actively looking for a suitable job. And this time, not so specifically in software development, but rather, yes, I originally studied statistics and I am very focused on numbers, and that makes me really happy. I would like to focus more on that, and I am just looking around in the field of analysis, data analysis and such. Maybe there is something suitable out there, and if not, then I will continue to stick with YouTube. I just talked about it with my oldest daughter earlier. She asked me what my dream job would actually be, and of course I asked her about it. We talked about it and found it really exciting to think about it again, because I believe that it is never too late to change careers and pursue a different direction. I think that until I am 50 or 55, all of this is still possible. Well, I don't see the problem. Even if you work in a profession for another 10 years, it is still worth it. I then thought about it a bit and really realized that my dream job is actually definitely still midwife. But there are many reasons why that simply doesn't really fit into my life at all. And the other thing is, I actually believe I've never mentioned this before, but I would really love to have a bridal shop, a bridal business, a bridal gown store. But the good thing about wiping the wall was that it came off well, that grey haze that had settled there from all the fingerprints. We don't have a railing, so where else are you supposed to hold on? And I once said in some video months ago that each of us has indeed slipped down the stairs of the Bobby Star countless times, because it's quite slippery with socks on the wooden steps, and you have nothing to hold on to. Nevertheless, we somehow avoid the topic of the railing because, well, we just don't have the motivation to commission it in a big way, or let alone tackle it ourselves and come up with something somehow a bit more. That's why it will stay this way for now. And you can see in the direct comparison how much whiter the wall has become, even though it is not perfect. But we don't want anything perfect here. We just want to make it a little better. Let me show you the beautiful final result again. And I'll also move on to the next example of unnecessary chaos.
So I'm definitely already sweating. The next thing to avoid unnecessary chaos is the stuff that I have sorted out. It really moves quite orderly and cleanly now. It wasn't always like that. It used to be completely different. I used to think, okay, out of sight, out of mind. And by now I know that, unfortunately, in the long run, it is simply better to store things neatly and not create a new chaos. That's why we're going to take the box upstairs now. I actually have some more Lego up there.
What is not yet quite sorted, so we are doing this now.
I don't think I've ever shown the room in general. This is now our attic, which I always talk about when I bring something up here. Ta-da! Here are all the devices, air conditioners, and here is all the sorted out toys. And what I would like to organise even more beautifully and better on this occasion are these Lego boxes, because they all have no lids. And I still have to tidy up a few storage boxes here and go through them again. But now I'm taking care of the Lego and that's it.
Fortunately, I can turn this down for you. That was quite loud.
And it really makes me happy when I have really good boxes already at home, and I don't have to go shopping for them, but I already have them at home. And then I have a corner like the Lego, which doesn't make me completely happy the way it is standing there. And then I know I can just transfer this, stack it, and it will look so much better afterwards than before. And yes, I really love that, because by now I no longer have the motto out of sight, out of mind, but it is actually important to me how things look in our attic. On the one hand, everything should definitely have its place there. And I really only store things in the basement that I believe make sense to keep there. I just noticed that I was talking about the basement, then the attic, and then back to the basement again. I hope it doesn't confuse you too much, but I always refer to this space. That's it.
Well, at least I now have the Lego in these two boxes, and they are securely closed. The only thing left is again. Here, these two plates don't fit in there, but now it's clearly more compact and simply closed. It's already really well organised here. Then down here is another game box. And here are some winter clothes and gloves. Here are the Christmas decorations. Ah yes, that box is good too. It's also good. So the rest fits. The box up there could use some improvement, and no, I would say the rest fits.
I don't feel comfortable up there at all, which is why I'm glad that I can go back down as quickly as possible. Generally, the roof up there, I just don't like it, whether it's the large room and the bathroom or the storage room up there. I don't really like being up there, but for the spring cleaning, I'll take you along. We'll really clean up then. But today, I'm glad that I've managed the boxes and am back down here. And directly to the second point, it's about uniformity. Uniform organization is indeed something that greatly boosts my motivation and makes cleaning up much more enjoyable for me. Specifically, uniform folding is important. The first example is the uniform folding of towels, kitchen towels, and bed linens. To fold all items uniformly. This means I think in advance about how I fold the towels or how I roll them up and how I fold the kitchen towels. Then I stick to that method and no longer have to think about how to do it. Once in a crisscross manner, because they sometimes have slightly different sizes, and ultimately in the conclusion when the stacks are there, it looks like a mess. I don't like that either.
So let's first take all the laundry out of the tumble dryer and fold all the towels together. I did the hot laundry here once, where I always let the washing machine run at 90 degrees. and throw in all the towels, rags, and everything that should be washed, hot. Even with these small towels that I just folded, it took me a few small months to find the ideal way to do it. But once they are folded into thirds lengthwise, they are perfect. They stay in a stack. And what I mean by that is that for every type of cloth, rag, or whatever, you just need to think about or figure out once how it makes the most sense, how it looks the best, and then just stick with that, like always. At least that's how I think about it, because before I used to do it more on a whim, and I always noticed that when I placed the new stack on top of the old one, it looked completely different, and that was a bit annoying, at least on a subconscious level. This is not rocket science. It's a thing that has become so ingrained in me. I just want to say that I used to handle it differently, and now I always do it this way. When it comes to clothes, I find that it's still a bit different because sometimes I'm really in the mood where every little detail has to be just right and everything has to be perfectly organized. Sometimes I'm just happy when the clothes end up just rolled or folded in the wardrobe and are simply off the floor. But when it comes to bedding, towels, and rags, it is simply worth it to fold them all exactly the same way. Exactly the same. It doesn't depend on any mood or the time, because they are always folded this way, no matter what, since it doesn't take any longer or shorter whether I first divide it into thirds and then halve it and then quarter it again. But I find that when you place the new stacks on top of the old ones, it makes a subtle difference. And for me, at least, in my perception and for my eye, that difference is crucial in determining how good I think the result is. Here in the dining room cabinet, we now have our small stack of towels ready to grab, right next to the dining table.
And there's something about you naked in the noontime.
For towels, I fold them in two different ways. The ones that go into the bathroom are rolled up because they go into the basket and more visually appealing. And those that I keep as a replacement in the bedroom in the chest, I simply stack them in quarters in the chest because that is clearly more practical for storage. I neatly stack them in 4 quarters for easy access. Above all, when it comes to bedding, I must say that it is most important for me to fold it consistently because I store it in the Kallax shelf and it fits so precisely in a Kallax shelf, just as I am doing right now. In this case today, I have my bedding. My bedding has a different size, which I store in the chest so that I don't get mixed up and accidentally use a children's bed with my oversized bedding. That's why it goes into my chest here. But just to avoid getting mixed up myself, I always fold it the same way. And when I fold the remaining bedding like this, it fits perfectly into a Kallax shelf. And then it really looks nice and tidy, especially since it is an open shelf. And now we are already here in the bedroom and you can see that the bed is not made yet. The curtain isn't even open. But in my defense, the day is still quite young, so it's not that bad yet. Indeed, it hasn't been like this all day. I also washed the cover of the nursing pillow again. It always takes a brief moment of consideration to figure out how exactly to put this curved pillow cover on until it comes back to me and makes total sense. But maybe some of you moms can relate. Making the bed is really a task that I enjoy a lot in the household because it's quick to do. As long as you don't have to completely change the bedding, I find it's really quick and a lot of fun. The reason is that it simply has a significant effect on the tidiness in the room, and right after the bed is made, we will move on to the next example of uniform organization. As you can see, I have really made an effort to provide several different examples for each point so that I can give you more ideas. What can also be organized quite uniformly are books. I pay more attention to making sure similar books are arranged together. If you turn them around, it looks nicer. Just stand right next to each other in the same row, just a little bit more, a tiny bit more. If they are all different, then I sort them by color. You could also sort by size, or group the same ones together again. But here too, the 3 come before the 4. So, exactly. And with my son, he also always keeps the related books together. So on the stack, there are indeed also the Donalds, which are arranged a little bit by color, within the stack at least. And I think it certainly just looks much more uniform this way than if I were to just throw it onto the shelf. By the way, he is currently planting a few plants in his room. Here are a little bit of basil and lettuce, and that's really cool. It just works so well. We sowed it about 2 weeks ago or so, and now it already looks like this. Or not even 2 weeks. Maybe it's only been 10 days. Yes, exactly. Then it continues with consistency. I always pay attention to decor as well, making sure to create groups of 3. It is known that groups of 3 tend to look the most harmonious. Here, it always looks best when there are 3 items displayed and not more. As I find that these 3 pieces, they are 3 vases, fit well together, and this. We always often find ourselves urgently in need of a ballpoint pen at hand, and this is the place for it. Exactly. It was also made by my daughter, as I mentioned at some point. I still find it beautiful. She wanted to throw it in the trash. It's really beautiful. She made it herself. Those are always the most beautiful pieces of furniture.
Then something that helps a lot to keep track of things, and also makes it easier when cleaning up, is to store items in bundles. And I do this now in many different categories, not in all, as everyone has a lot of their stuff in their own room. You can't always keep everything bundled in one place for everyone. But where it is convenient, for example, is with our swimwear. Now we only have these 2 drawers. Everything we need for swimming is in there when we go to the swimming pool. This way, the swim bag is packed much, much faster. I actually had the swimwear divided up until recently, partly here in the hallway, in the dresser, in one drawer, and then also in 2 baskets in the laundry room. And it has always annoyed me that the children didn't know whether their swimming trunks were here, there, or somewhere else. Until I then decided to simply store all the swimwear in 2 drawers stacked directly on top of each other, and in one of them are the swimsuits. I have now placed them in a small box so that there is really a designated spot for swimsuits and swimming trunks. Next to it, there is still enough space for all the children's bathrobes. Patrick doesn't have a bathrobe at all, and my bathrobe would be way too big and would take up too much space in the drawer. It always hangs in the bathroom because I use it daily for showering, so it has its fixed place and hook there, and it is always there. It never goes into the drawer. Keeping everything together, including the swimsuits, is certainly a point. In 2001, the other thing is, of course, that it is nicely organized in the drawer. That's why we just emptied it, wiped it out, and are organizing it more nicely than before. But sometimes a bit of a mess happens, where maybe a bathrobe just gets tossed in when the laundry is done. That happens, and I don't think it's a big deal. That's why I occasionally sit down and tidy up the drawer to make it nice again. What I also noticed while tidying up is how old my favorite swimsuit has become. It must be about as old as my oldest daughter by now, and it still holds up. And I prefer wearing it by far over all the ones I bought afterwards. And what I sometimes do with clothing items is calculate the cost per wear. This means that a New Year's Eve dress will obviously perform much worse than winter boots, which you wear daily. And with this swimsuit, these costs will drop significantly towards 0. And this is how the 2 swim drawers look now. A bit more organized again. And I even have a little something to sort out. Right now I have a box in the laundry room, and I always put everything I sort out into it. That's quite practical. Although it may look like a jumble here, it's a bundled jumble. meaning everything that is being sorted out, and then I have to sort that out again. What goes to clothing donation, or in the trash, and so on. Here's another example, which is actually totally trivial. But for a long time we didn't do it that way ourselves. For example, by simply keeping all the suitcases bundled here. One was on the first floor, one was on the ground floor in some chamber, and one was in my daughter's room. In here are the small suitcases, and yes, they take up the least amount of space, and you never have to search for a suitcase. Well, it was really a bit silly that we didn't do it this way all along. But because it has been different for us before, I definitely wanted to mention it briefly. Now I handle it the same way as it used to be here and here respectively. Inside each of our drawers, everything is simply available, with all the toothbrushes and toothpaste. So here are all the toothbrush heads. This one is Patrick's, and I share the one with the children here. And this is everything we need for brushing our teeth together. And it's all right here, so they are always charged, and no one is looking for their toothpaste because everyone has their own with their own flavor. And we can also clean the compartment now, but overall the storage is definitely very, very practical for us. Now we are already in the bathroom, and you have seen what the sink looks like. It's not a disaster, but I wouldn't say it's nicely arranged either. So let's quickly go over that. The sink and the mirror, that's just a small, quick task that can be done easily. That's why I'm taking care of that right now. And then one part of the bathroom will be finished. The other part will come later with another point that I would like to introduce to you. Today, it is enough for me to just wipe the sink roughly, and for a deep clean with the steam cleaner, I don't do that every time. I really only take it out when I have the time and the sink either desperately needs it or when I simply feel like having it really, really clean. The reason there are 2 towels behind the sink is simply that I want to avoid the wooden panel swelling at the back. So don't be surprised, I didn't forget the towels. They are intentionally placed there. One thing that I no longer do, for example, is to use something like that for cleaning. I often used to quickly wipe a surface here, or clean the fronts there if something had happened. But I have to say, I have completely given it up and now just wipe it with a cloth and pay a little more attention to more environmentally friendly options.
Getting a cloth for wiping and a bit of cleaning agent might take 1 second longer, but it is of course much more environmentally friendly and much cheaper because these wipes are really expensive. And the only place where I occasionally still use these baby wipes for cleaning, but that is really the only exception, otherwise not at all for cabinets or other surfaces, is actually in fact my shoes. Because I have to admit, I absolutely and honestly find them just really too practical, and then I definitely grab 1 or 2 wipes for both shoes. But I really wouldn't clean surfaces and the dining table, for example, with disposable wipes anymore, as I used to do in the past, which I found convenient.
Well, I changed. But that doesn't matter. When there is a lot of dirt on the floor, I first vacuum with a bagless vacuum cleaner that has a collection container which can be easily emptied. Because I will show you how big or small our bags from Vorwerk actually are. They are heavy, so hot. They are relatively small. And when I think about how often I have to empty it, when I vacuum under the dining table, maybe a couple of rugs, and then the container is full, I would need all those bags otherwise. That's definitely something I pay more attention to now. I just didn't think about it before. I always just use the vacuum cleaner. So the Vorwerk is right here next to the dining table, and we often just vacuum over it. But from an environmental and thus also from a cost perspective, it definitely makes a bit more sense to start by vacuuming with the bagless vacuum cleaner. Oh god, it's too heavy. Or just to vacuum. So if I'm not mopping, then just vacuuming is enough.
To demonstrate this naturally, our dining table is always a suitable option at any time of day or night, as there is usually a lot of coarse dirt on it. To show you that it is definitely worth it for me to first vacuum with the bagless vacuum cleaner, and if I want it even cleaner or absolutely want to mop, then I use the mop vacuum cleaner again. We need fewer vacuum cleaner bags, they are tiny from housework.
Look, this is just from the dining room, after a meal, and there's a bit of dirt that was still lying around here, but I only vacuumed slightly in the dining room, and the bag fills up quickly when you vacuum directly with a bag vacuum cleaner, and that's why it's really practical to be able to simply empty it. It's definitely worth it, I think.
Then we'll just quickly tidy up the kitchen a bit, and then I'll show you the next topic here. Specifically, it is about how, if the lime cleaner is empty here, you can easily make it yourself. I just didn't know for far too long how easy it is. Otherwise, I would have been making it myself for a much longer time. So, I will take about 1 or 2 teaspoons now. I'll take approximately 2 teaspoons of citric acid, then just a little bit of the dish soap, maybe about 1 tiny teaspoon, and the rest of the liquid, water.
I didn't know it was that easy, so yes, I will do this more often now. And the same can be done with baking soda. Then simply add 1 or 2 tablespoons of baking soda instead of citric acid. This makes it a bit stronger, especially against grease and lime scale. And if you want it to be even stronger and more intense, you can also use soda instead of baking soda. And aside from the fact that it's just super convenient to have it at home and mix it yourself with just water, baking soda, soda, and citric acid, I've always kept it in stock at home since then. Plus, you save a decent amount of money because a pack like this costs about 3. Approximately, don't hold me to it. And yes, exactly, if you need 1 or 2 teaspoons, then you can imagine how long that will last. I think it's a really good thing.
So, I went over it once, and it has really become beautifully shiny again.
And what also comes to my mind is that the spray bottles from IKEA are really the best. This one is from IKEA, it costs 1.80, and I now have several of them, but they spray so much better. I can only recommend picking one up at IKEA. Here you can see how many I have of these. There are actually a few here as well, and they spray just so much better than the bottles from Frog. I don't know what kind of mistake they made there, but just take the ones from IKEA and mix your stuff together yourself. It's just so much easier. And regarding the topic of saving money, I thought of one more thing that I have also gotten into the habit of doing, which is very quick to do. That takes 3 seconds. And when shopping, one doesn't always ask themselves, if we still have eggs, if we still have this, if we still have that.
I'll definitely show it to you.
So, with the photo, I go shopping and can easily check in case of doubt. Okay, we still have this much butter or yogurts. Of course, it is better if the refrigerator is nice and clean, organized and tidy. That's why we are going to do that now. And so the photo would look significantly better and more organized now. At least the refrigerator is somewhat sorted again and is not as messy as it was before. This works for today.
And it goes straight on to the next point. Some of my cleaning techniques have completely changed because I have simply realized that there are much easier or much more effective ways to do it. I have 2 examples for that.
For 100 years, I used glass cleaner and a few sew cloths to clean things like mirrors, windows. Nowadays, I only use some kind of window cleaning cloths. It doesn't matter which ones. Mine have all worked well, regardless of the brand, and they work without glass cleaner, with water, and without drying. Next, the other example is very, very new, but it is this part. If you have seen my recent videos, you know this, and I'm sure you are as curious as I am about what will come out of this kid's mattress. I will proceed in the same way as before. I have always only used it to vacuum the mattresses, and I have really seen a lot of what is in the container afterwards. And now I do it in such a way that I go over it again subsequently in a careful manner to really see what else was actually still in there. That can be taken out on top of that. And I had such amazing results on the couch, from the couch and the carpet. And what else was it? Oh yes, and the 2 rugs. That's why I'm indeed very much curious about the children's mattress. What I then remembered is that I had already vacuumed both of the children's mattresses on top with it. That was what I had mentioned. When the thing arrived, I immediately went to the children's mattresses and wanted to clean them really well. And I had mentioned in the last video that the result was truly more than convincing. However, I hadn't vacuumed again beforehand. I just went over it with the mite vacuum cleaner. Oh, and one more important thing. Normally I also don't empty the containers in the middle of the room so that the mite droppings can potentially spread around the room again. I am just only doing this now to show you what the result is. Because I always think one can say a lot, but in the end everyone decides for themselves whether it is worth it or not. The effort, the money for the result that you see. And that's why I just want to show you this. Normally I just dump the contents directly into the trash so that I can't spread it around again. And after vacuuming, it definitely feels much cleaner, as if I had just put fresh sheets on the bed. And I think the problem is that once you start vacuuming your mattress, you somehow can't go back to not doing it. What do you think? We now have a beautifully fresh bed here. Of course, I'm looking to see what came out of the 2 parts here. But I think I peeked a little and not much came out, which surprises me a bit. Let's take a look. That's it. So, this is all. The vacuum cleaner number 1, and then here is the mite vacuum cleaner. So, at least this is what it couldn't get out. But overall, I have to say, I am almost a bit disappointed with how little I got out of the mattress.
I don't want to give up so quickly, so I'm currently considering whether I should ask my oldest daughter if I can vacuum her mattress with it. Because I would love to achieve a really nice result with these 2 pieces, since they are so good. And I have been truly amazed every time I saw what they pulled out of the carpet.
Said and done, I naturally do the same now with my oldest daughter's bed. And to keep it comparable, I proceed here just like I did in the other children's room. Next time I would do it differently by only using the mite vacuum cleaner and not the vacuum cleaner anymore. So in the future, I will clean carpets. No, I normally vacuum the carpets with the vacuum cleaner first, but with mattresses, I would actually try to see what the result is.
if I only go over them with the mite vacuum cleaner. And of course the goal is that over time, less and less comes out, each time, and not a huge pile every time, because otherwise it would seem that it doesn't really help at all. In terms of handling, it is definitely much less strenuous to use the mite vacuum cleaner than the vacuum cleaner, because its weight is completely on the mattress and you don't have to hold it up in any way. You simply push it back and forth. You always have to keep the vacuum cleaner up at the right angle, and that is definitely much more exhausting. So just that alone is a lot more fun. It's number 1 and number 2. You can only see it halfway well on the towel. Yes, a bit came out of the vacuum cleaner. Some dust. Fluff. Yes, and here is just some very fine dust mite stuff. Yes, exactly. So, that's what we got out of the mattress. I would say the result is quite solid. And since we are already in the process of vacuuming and dealing with mites, vacuuming and using the vacuum cleaner, I will also take care of this one room that has a carpet. I will first use the vacuum cleaner on the floor, specifically for the carpets, and then afterwards the mite vacuum cleaner. Because the cats often gather in this room, I go over every spot at least twice, sometimes even 3 times. I actually always orient myself by the percentage display that is at the top of the screen, and with the carpet, it was like this. In the first round it was always around 90 to 99, in the second round it was around 74, and then in the end I was below 23%, and then I thought, okay, now I can stop. That's enough for now. If that's correct, then we have already achieved a significant improvement. So, I will do that on the mattress as well, or next to it. So, yes, this is the carpet again. Well, you really get quite a bit out with it. And being clean is of course a very, very nice feeling. When you know that all of that is no longer in the mattress and the carpet. I wouldn't have thought that there is actually so much small dust in carpets, because I vacuum them regularly, but I don't really do the same for mattresses. I don't do that every week, but I do for the carpets. Well, it's good. But you walk over it and who knows if it's mites or other dust. In any case, it's good when it's gone. So now we are back upstairs. Wow, it already looks really tidy here. Over the course of time, while I have shared the first points with you, we have accomplished quite a lot. And the next point is absolutely definitely that it really pays off to take good care of your electronic devices. I have simply repressed and ignored that for years, never done it. I do the washing machine once a week. I believe it really doesn't need to be done that often. Maybe every 2 weeks or so, or once a month, I run the machine on the hottest setting at approximately 90 degrees, and then I sometimes add a cleaner during the rinse cycle to ensure cleanliness and hygiene. And we really haven't had any issues with bad smells in the washing machine for a long, long time, or having to clean this filter in the dryer every time after drying. And that works, for example, if you have such a device, and if you have the Dyson as well, it's just super, super easy. Here you can see what I mean. I used to always rinse it off under running water, squeeze it out, dry it, and then let it air dry again before I could reuse it. And I would say, this method is definitely faster.
Und bei
And
der
with the
Spülmaschine
dishwasher,
lohnt sich das auch
it
sowas
really
von,
pays off to clean the
vielleicht einmal im
filter,
Monat in
maybe
der
once
Mitte
a
das
month,
Sieb sauber zu machen,
refill the
Salz
salt,
nachfüllen und dann
and there are
gibt's ja so
special cleaning
Teile,
parts,
spezielle
cleaning agents,
Reinigungsmittel,
and that
und
really
das
makes a difference.
bringt echt was. Also
So
danach
afterwards
ist das
the dishes
Geschirr
are much,
viel,
much
viel
cleaner
sauberer
again.
wieder. Habe ich
I
jetzt
just
neulich
noticed
erst
this
gemerkt
recently during
beim
spring cleaning when I
Frühjahrsputz,
did
als ich
that.
das gemacht
And the Dyson itself is of course an example, because I mostly use the parts.
But the fact that I also need to clean them, I ignore and push aside for as long as possible. And it wouldn't be a bad idea to clean this filter here from time to time so that it can actually suction properly again. This is something to keep in mind, as it contributes to the lifespan of the device, which is also very important. And that is already the second to last point, namely to always have enough spare parts on hand for all sorts of things. E.g., we always have these floor cleaning cloths. Yes, we have 2 of them in total. And then there are generally always enough window cloths available, what is in the laundry, and also enough that is still outside. I have enough replacement towels from the regular cloths. I really hate it when dish towels are empty. Yes, that happens when I haven't managed to do the laundry, but having enough rags is very valuable. For example, we also have a spare battery for our vacuum cleaner, which is quite good because it doesn't last very long. I think about 15 minutes, and then you won't be interrupted because of that. Then we have replacement filters for the Dyson vacuum cleaner here. There is also another filter for the Mite vacuum cleaner, just in case it no longer sucks properly and the filter needs to be replaced. Then it will be wet. So you have another one to continue working right away.
So, as long as we are still cleaning the bathroom, because everything else already looks great and down below it looks really good, I will address the last point, which is actually the most important one for me. It is about finding ways to make cleaning the most pleasurable and satisfying for oneself in different ways, and what makes it the most fun. And there are actually indeed a few things that help me a great deal to make cleaning truly enjoyable. I'll just show you a few examples of what truly works well for me.
For example, beautiful sorting boxes. So when you have really nice things that you enjoy using, it simply brings much more joy to sort them in here. Here, for example, we mainly have them for the children's clothes. There are sorting boxes for all sorts of things. Here is another example where there is still a need for improvement. So here I just have a few boxes. You can see it quite well here. This one is broken and damaged, and they also don't fit optimally in terms of size. Therefore, this is a drawer that I need to tackle very soon. This is just an example that can still be improved. But basically, I am already working with drawer inserts here as well. And yes, we definitely need something better. But basically, yes, drawers, inserts, organizational boxes, sorting boxes, everything that helps and makes it more fun to use.
And of course, really good devices also help make cleaning a lot more fun. If they naturally make the work much easier, then it is totally logical that it is much more fun, for example, to use a vacuum cleaner that can reach all corners, or a vacuum mop that allows you to work quickly and efficiently. It's better to invest in smart devices that actually make cleaning fun, rather than dealing with a vacuum cleaner that requires you to go over the same spot 3 times and eventually makes you lose all motivation.
The bathroom is naturally a good place to show it in use again, because we only cleaned the sink earlier and the rest of the bathroom is still chaotic and dusty. Here on the scale, you can see how often we weigh ourselves. Currently, almost not at all. The original plan was for this scale to motivate me to exercise more, because it can measure muscle, fat, and water, and it even has special handles for that. But that is not the point that ultimately motivates me. Not at all. Even though I am totally a numbers person, that is not my motivation to do more exercise. Still, this would be a typical device where I would say, if I sort it out now, I bet that 2 weeks later, I would want to use it again. That's why I can't part with it yet. As you can clearly see, it was worth mopping the floor. I had promised you recently, and I want to assure you that I will always clearly indicate the real time. I absolutely haven't forgotten. It's just that for today's video, I really spent the whole day tidying up and cleaning. I did it in smaller segments throughout the day. I also went to my therapist appointment session in between that day, and that threw me off a bit again. And I think you can see quite well the before and after. But in the end, I was just really exhausted from the tiring day, from cleaning all day. And that's why I can't tell you now that I've spent a total of 3 hours or so. Instead, it was always a bit here, 15 minutes, a bit there, 20 minutes, or sometimes half an hour. I really can't tell you how long I've spent on this now. We talked a lot today and didn't just clean. And that's why I will indicate the real time next week and in the future repeatedly. Today, I find it doesn't quite fit. I can't provide an exact indication. Here at the faucet, you can see quite well that lime actually wears away in layers. The layer of lime was just so hard that it will take some time before it shines again like the other faucets, including the ones we saw earlier. But I will definitely give it some more time. So now it's your turn. Please tell me if you have any little additions to my 10 points. Whether you have done something for years, I don't want to say wrong, but rather differently than you do today, that would really interest me, and I believe we can help each other a lot with this, because not only could I learn from it, but also everyone else who reads your message. Yes, and now I am also done in the bathroom. I am glad that I cleaned the shower here again because, well, as you could see, it was really necessary. And otherwise, I have just restored a bit of basic order. The sink is clean. We already took care of the sink earlier, and the towels are replenished. So, everything is back in a very, very good condition.
And with that, we have indeed really accomplished a great deal today. We tidied up, cleaned, and reorganized in every corner of the house. I showed you a lot today, and maybe there was one or perhaps another thing that could be a bit helpful. I am really looking forward to seeing you again next time, and I wish you a wonderful day. Take care. Bye.